we can move to the next step, is production stage. So many importers think that actually checking their products when everything is manufactured is a good way of product quality control. But we as inspection company, we see a lot of defects, and actually lots of orders fail their inspections. Past inspection reports are not so often seen, I would say. Mostly inspection reports are failed. So the failed inspection report, when it's already done, when all your products are manufactured and before they ship, it will give you a lot of problems. Like probably if some defects that you see, they have to be reworked, and it also takes lots of time, or it also takes lots of money. Or if you receive the goods and you see that there's some problem in them, you will also have to spend a lot of money and also have to spend a lot of time sending these goods back to the factory and asking them to remanufacture or maybe correct some defects. And it will also take lots of time and lots of money. So what you could do, you could actually try to control the order when it's just going into production, when the production just starting. And this is a very good way to do that, because, for example, if your production is starting 5% or 10%, and your inspector finds some problems, you still have a lot of time and you still have a lot of production to be finished, and you still can fix those little problems in your order before everything is made. So that's why the during production check is very important. It will help you to find the correct issues at the early stage, and also it will help to use your inspector as a strict policeman to supervise your production. And I will tell you frankly, having an inspector during your production at the production line will actually bring more attention of the factory to your order, and they will be more careful when they're making your products. So first, you can actually do it by yourself. You can ask your contact in at your supplier to take pictures. It doesn't hurt if you ask them to take pictures of your products when they're just starting in the production line. And it will also help you to have some control by yourself. But you understand that they can take pictures of what they want to show you. And having an independent inspector going there and seeing it and checking it for you is actually much more efficient and better because it's independent. So what can be checked during the production? It's raw materials. So it's actually several steps of your product making process. So when your production just going into the just starting, the inspector can check the raw materials and accessories, whether the factory bought the fabric to produce this t-shirt, and whether this fabric is correct color, the way you want it, and whether the threads that they bought are also the same color as you wanted. And you, just for your information, if they bought a different fabric or if they bought different color threads, it will be already not the same product that you want to have. So before they actually manufactured it, you could stop this problem from happening, and you could stop the production of being faulty, and you can already say, hey guys, stop here and let's do everything according to my requirements, according to what should be done. Also, inspector can check the colors and the printing of the product, check the dimensions, stitching of this t-shirt, check the production line, when whether the all production processes are following, check the packing line to make sure that everything is clean and there's not going to be dust or some particles inside of your product or inside of your packaging and so on. And why is it important? Also, here are some advantages of checking your product during production is actually making sure that your production is taking in the right place. As I just mentioned before, that factories like to outsource production. They can be having some equipment for production, but they would not have all equipment. Let's take this t-shirt as an example. For example, a factory could produce a t-shirt, but they don't do printing. So on the printing stage, so they will produce a t-shirt, then they will outsource the printing to another company who is specialized in printing. And if the factory who is making printing, they will make some problem, or they may say, make some defect there, the factory that produces the t-shirt themselves, they would be not in control of that process. So this is the point where your order can go wrong. And having everything checked during the production will help you to make sure that all the stages are following the way it should be and all the requirements are met in the production. Yeah, also I mentioned that you could encounter the quality problems at different stages, and you also can check whether the production follows the schedule. So our inspector goes there, he sees the production, he sees the speed that the products are made with, and he could also create a schedule or assess when the products will be fully manufactured, so you can catch your shipping date. So this is basically it, and now we can move to the next stage, is when your products are already completed. And when your products are completed for 100% and are packed at least for 80% before they shipped to your country, the pre-shipment inspection usually is conducted. Why is it important? Is when your products leave your factory, it will be almost impossible for you to claim any problem or any loss or any defect that happened. So for the better management of your order, it's actually recommended to do the pre-shipment inspection. And it's good because it's evaluation of your product, not only the quantity and how the product looks like, but it also is evaluation and of function check, of functionality of your product, also workmanship of your product, the testing is done, also the accessories are checked, marking and labeling, and the carton status is checked, product packaging, and so on. So it's not just your product check, it's your order total check from the export carton down to the product. And now I will show you how it is made, and later I'll show you example of the pre-shipment inspection report. So when any of your inspection is conducted, it's always made according to the checklist. We as inspection company, VTrust owns around 1,000 different checklists for different kinds of products. So if you're coming to us and you're asking for inspection, actually your inspection will be made according to our checklist and your requirements. We can help you to make a tailor-made checklist, and we can actually listen to what your requirements, what your problems are in your product, and for example, what your product's expectations are. And we can edit this checklist, we can make it tailor-made for you, and we can actually show it for you, and then we will make inspection according to it. So you can see here, inspection checklist is made out of two parts. It's performance check and defect classification. Performance check is what your product's main functionality is. This checklist is for t-shirts, but let me tell you that for different kinds of products, there's completely different checklists. And if you are checking a gloss scope, there will be completely different testing needed. And if you're doing the electronic product, there will be lots of functionality and lots of safety requirements and testing suggested for your product to be done. And another part is defect classification. So here you can see different types of defects that could be possibly found in your production. And here you can see we have critical, major, and minor defects. So critical defects are the defects in your product that can harm persons' health and safety. For For example, if you produce a t-shirt and if we as an inspection company find a piece of needle there. So this is a critical defect. And if we find even one defect in the product, it means that the whole inspection report will be failed, and the whole order should be rechecked again for the critical defects. Later, I'll show you some examples of the defect classification on the real inspection report. Major defects are the defects that are the defects of the functionality, of the product functionality. So, for example, there are some loop stitches or open seams on your textile product. This is actually something that can influence your product functionality, and that's why we think that this is a major defect. Minor defect is something, some defect of your product appearance, or maybe a very minor functionality defect. Later, I'll show you some pictures and description of what is considered minor defect. And here's also something that I would like to let you know about is AQL table. So all inspections in an inspection industry is basing their inspections on the AQL table. It basically means the amount of samples that needs to be taken from your order, from your batch order. For example, we'll be not checking all 8,000 pieces of t-shirts if you have 8,000 pieces t-shirts order. Checking actually 8,000 pieces is taking a lot of time, and it will end up in a very high cost of inspection. So usually we do the random selection for the inspection. And if, for example, if you are buying 8,000 pieces, we will check. You can go here to the table 8, and you can see here a lot of the batch size from 3,000 to 10,000. So if your order is 8,000 pieces t-shirts, we will be checking L. And L here is 200. Why I chose L? L is second inspection level. Usually the recommended standard for the inspection is AQL level 2 and major 2.5, minor 4.0. Later I'll tell you what's that. So this is the recommended standard that we would apply for your inspection. But actually, if you have some other standards that you would like to follow, or your customers have some other AQL standard that they would like to follow, you also can tell us, and we will adjust it according to your requirements. So we are going back to my order of 8,000 pieces t-shirts, and here we check L, we check 200, here L. So out of 8,000 pieces, we'll be checking 200. And as I told you, that if we find one critical defect in this 200, the whole order will be rejected because it's a critical defect and it will harm your customer's health and safety. Then we go here and we see major 2.5, minor 4.0. What it means is acceptance rate of your defects. So we check 200 pieces of your t-shirts, and then we go here, 2.5, accepted and rejected. Then I'll look at the intersection of my sample size and my standard. And here you can see for 200 pieces, 2.5 standard is 10. It means for major defects, if we check 200 pieces and we find 10 major defects in the order, it will be still acceptable. But if we find 11 pieces with major defects, it will be rejected. And the same thing for the minor. Here you can see 4.0, and we go and look at the intersection of the sample size with the standard. Here you can see 14 acceptable minor defects. So if we check 200 pieces t-shirts and we find 14 minor defects, it's still acceptable. But if we find more than 15, it will be rejected. And again, for your information, if you think that in your order, for example, we should check 200 pieces and your acceptance rate is much stricter, you can tell us what is your acceptance rate. For example, what would you like, what percentage of the defects and non-defective products should be. We also can follow this requirement and we also can follow the standard. Again, for your information, no products are ideal. There will be no orders with 0 defects. There will be some defects because it will, the defects are just something that is made, you know, it can be a human factor. It can be some equipment that is not adjusted well, it's not calibrated, or something would go wrong. So what you can do is you actually can set up a quality level for your order, and you can set up the percentage of the defects that is not acceptable in your order, and percentage of the order that should pass the quality check. So this is how the inspection standard is working.
So that is such a great explanation, Tatiana. And I think one of the biggest questions that we get about inspection is, why wouldn't I have every single one of my 3,200 units inspected? And the reason that that you wouldn't want to do that is, imagine that you are the inspector and that you have to now open up every single box and take out every single t-shirt and look at every single line of stitching and every single element of every single t-shirt. Number one, you're not going to be very effective. After checking your 500th t-shirt, you're going to make mistakes. It's human to make those kind of mistakes. And number two, if you are taking the chance of doing a 100% inspection like that, if they don't pass, all of those units are going to have to get thrown away anyway and remade. And that would really, that would really kind of mess up your overall production levels. So if you're concerned about the quality, maybe this is the first time that you're ordering from a supplier, I would recommend doing a mid-production inspection and a pre-shipment inspection. So perhaps you start off with a factory audit, which has VTrust go out and check out the factory. And then you do a mid-production inspection, which in the middle of production, they go and they inspect some of the units. And that way, production doesn't get all the way finished. And then if half of them are messed up, you know, they can course correct there. And then you do one more inspection just prior to the shipment. And that allows you to just get one more check on it. And so that's what I normally recommend. That's what I do with my products when I'm working with a new supplier. I love to get things checked out in the middle of production and just prior to, but I would never recommend a full inspection, like inspecting every single unit. Instead, I would go with acceptable quality limits and AQL inspection, because it's the standard for a reason. and there's more chance of you of things being messed up worse if you're asking someone to check 10,000 units one by one. That could take multiple days and it might not be very effective. Did I hit all of those points correctly, Tatiana?
Yes. But actually, if you really want to check the full production and every piece in your order, we can do that. We'll just split it into different days. For example, for t-shirts, applicable for t-shirts, within one day, we can check 200 pieces t-shirts. Yeah, but if you would like to have 500 pieces t-shirts checked, it will take more time and we'll have to split it to another day, so it will be 2 days. Yeah, so let me show you how actually pre-shipment inspection report looks like. So you will have the more understanding of what is checked, and yeah, you could also see some problems of the order.